Hey, what is up guys? GuitarRock here, welcome back to the counter side video. Alright, so in my most recent video, the farming guide that I did, a lot of you guys have told me that, hey GuitarRock, we're not able to do a lot of the hard stages or the challenge stages are too difficult in global. Which makes sense. I know the challenge stages ideally, even though I say it's the best place to farm, but I know a lot of global players might not be able to do it unless you already have plenty of character stack, maybe level 110. So that's something that I probably overlook because from my point of view, when I make that guide, I was just thinking of making one guide for both global and C players, and also looking at best place to farm gold, best place to farm infos, and best place to farm the binaries. But obviously, it's going to be a while before most of you guys can do it. I've tried it earlier. For Chloe's credit search, you can still farm the first one. Alright, I think the first one is definitely doable. And let's give you guys a very quick comparison right here. So I'm just gonna go in one time for 350 Ethereum and see how much gold we get. Alright, so just using one very small sample size, this will give us about 54,870 gold. So we're gonna compare with the profit creation last stage right here, which is the 1-3. This will consume 600 Ethereum, and this gives us about 70,970 gold or credits. So let's try and calculate the Ethereum to credits ratio right now. So if you look at the return ratio right now, if we try and calculate how much one Ethereum give you in terms of gold, alright, so the Chloe's credit search, even the first stage still give more. So one Ethereum gives you 156 gold compared to this stage right here. Alright, so the profit creation stage 3, based on this calculation, you can see one Ethereum gives you 118.283 gold. So Chloe's credit search, still the best place to farm gold, even if you can't farm the last stage. The first stage that I did just now, this particular 1-1 is still better overall. Now let's talk about one thing that I probably missed in the farming guide that I didn't really particularly mention, because I think this is something that you're not going to need early on. But I feel like for a lot of players, you can start farming this right now if you have nowhere else to dump your Ethereum or your stamina, right? Which is the investigation activities right here under the hyperthermal zone exploration part 4. Now we're going to farm this thing called the capsules. Now I know these things are not the capsules, they're called special catalysts, but I'm very used to calling them just a capsule because they just look like a bright colored capsule thing. So I'm just going to refer them as a capsule. Ideally, if you have spare Ethereum and you don't have any way of dumping your stamina, this, in my opinion, is something that you can start stacking right now. So what is the special catalyst? So what is this used for and what is this good for ideally? So let's jump into my C account so I can show you guys better. Now, this is probably one of your best ways to basically farm for fusion cores. Now, how do we farm for fusion cores? Ideally, you can't really farm for fusion cores, but there's a way to basically convert your SAPT cores to fusion cores. So let's jump into workshop. Alright, so notice when you go to the under the APT core section right here, so notice you can have the fusion core be converted from the SAPT cores, right? So the SAPT cores conversion to fusion core is 5:1. Now ideally, this is going to be the best way for you to farm fusion core moving forward. You will be able to convert some excess of this into fusion cores later on. This is back in C server. We don't have fusion cores back then, alright? Early on, we only have up to level 100, right? And then you can basically convert the cores into other cores. For example, I'm sure you guys are aware, the soldier cores are the blue ones, right? And then we have the green ones, which are the mech cores. And then we have the red one, which is the counter cores. Alright, so there's also the basic one, which is just the APT core. And then there's these big ones, which are the SAPT cores. So you can convert one into another easily right here using any of these special catalysts. Now, a lot of people are going to build counter teams, ideally, right? So which is why in the beginning, back then in C server, a lot of people convert their mech APT cores to their counter cores, or they convert their soldier cores into the mech cores, depending on what kind of team you want to build. This is something that a lot of players do back then. But right now in global, since fusion core is available to us straight up, so I think farming fusion core is going to be ideal. So there's part 4, there's part 3, there's part 2, there's part 1. So ideally, you want to farm the hardest stage that you can because that will give you the best return ratio. So let's talk a little bit about GuitarRock. I keep getting asked, yo, why you don't encourage people to farm GuitarRock? Here's how I view things. GuitarRock right here, yes, it's going to give you a bunch of gears. I understand you're trying to farm as much gears as you can. But the idea here is whatever that you get from this particular place, if you farm here, you're gonna get a lot of trash gears early on, which is fine if you're trying to like right now you're trying to rush to get as high rank as possible. But in the long run, alright, as a free-to-play, it's not a viable strategy, because eventually whatever gears that you get from GuitarRock or farming here in GuitarRock is gonna get replaced. Like, you're not gonna use those Dante gears that you get from this stage. So that's just how I look at it. Long-term investment, eventually you're gonna replace the gears with better T6, T7, SC gears, etc. And therefore, whatever that you farm right now early on is going to be sort of redundant later on, right? But of course, for progression, I can see where you guys are coming from if you're trying to get a bunch of skill haste, if you're trying to get a bunch of attack speed set. But like, if you're not rushing, if you're free to play, you're just playing at your own pace, you don't really have to force yourself to do this right now. That's just how I look at it. So yeah, hopefully you guys are able to do the stages, especially the fourth one. This one can be a little bit hard, the Hyperthermal Zone Exploration Part 4. If you can't do the Part 4, just farm the Part 3. Alright, always farm the second hardest stage if you can't farm the hardest stage. Alright, so if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, give this video a like. I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a nice day. Goodbye.